Good morning, Philadelphia. Welcome to another great show of Race on Main Street. For all of our past episodes, raceonmain.com.
There it is.
We have a terrific guest for you today, Almitra Tankersley from Credit Fitness.
We're going to talk about business profiles and business credit profiles and
That's right.
Making them strong and fit.
That's right. So just like you have your personal credit score, you can also have your business credit score. So any business owners out there, this might be a good one for you.
It's important stuff.
Good morning, Philadelphia, and welcome to Race on Main Street. We're happy to have you with us. We have a very, very informative show about credit. We will be speaking with Almitra Tankersley. You can reach her at creditfitness.org, her company Credit Fitness. She's going to talk all about business credit and securing a better business credit score. And as always, if you want to check out all of our past episodes, you can do that at raceonmain.com. I have a terrific presentation for my co-host. With no further ado, Stewie!
Scotty?
No, that doesn't work. Stewie is way better.
First of all, is that going to be, like you did that last show, is that going to be the thing now?
It is my thing.
All right.
Until I find something different.
Yes, that's true.
So,
well, whatever.
Hey, it's cool. You know what? Everything's so serious, so why not? Some
Why
things
not? If that makes people laugh and be happy.
I guess.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Just don't call me late for supper or whatever. You know.
Whatever the crazy expressions
Yeah.
are. Yeah. Just don't call me crazy.
Don't call me crazy.
Oh no, don't call me Shirley. Wasn't that in Fletch?
Airplane. No,
Airplane. Okay.
Yeah, don't call me Shirley.
Stop calling me Shirley.
Right. Although
So-
don't call. Although there was a movie where he's like, "Call me crazy one more time, see what happens."
Oh no, is
I
that
don't know what movie that is, but there's it's like it's
Stripes with Francis?
fine.
You know,
Shut
I'll
up,
kill you.
Francis. Right.
Yeah.
Sit down.
If you touch my stuff, I'm gonna kill you.
Shut up, Francis.
Right. Sit down, Francis. Or no, he goes, lighten up, Francis.
Right, that's what, yeah. Boy, that's
That's-
back in the day.
that is
that's
back
a
in
long
the
time
day.
ago.
It's one of my favorite movies, Stripes, just so
Really?
you know. Yeah, I love it. I
did
love
not
it.
know that.
Yeah. So anyway, how are things going? All right.
It's February 23rd, and we were driving in today, and we saw someone running with a tank top on. So it's maybe this climate change thing is real. I don't know.
I think it might be real. I hate that February is warm.
Yeah.
I love the seasons. I do. I love the changes.
Yeah.
We have none of that anymore. I'm not really sure, or really not anything notable.
Well, it seems to be very arbitrary anyway. I mean, it was 3 days ago. It was 38 degrees and windswept.
Right.
And
And 10 days ago we had a decent amount of snow.
Yeah. So it's it's strange that I mean, I've always said that I like living in a 4-season climate.
Right.
I prefer that. I get mocked sometimes because people say, "What's your favorite season?" I always say the next one.
Right.
Because I'm looking forward to the
Yeah,
things
it's
that are
fun.
the next one. But I don't, people you hear on the radio, or my wife is a big one also, that it's glorious, and it is. I mean, it's nice when it's 70 degrees, but in February I want it to be cold.
Yeah, I
It's
agree.
kinda
I'm
hard
the
to
same
ski in
way.
this also, so it's
It's miserable from that standpoint. I thought it was going to be a cold winter and somewhat snowy, but not even close.
Well, I remember last year, we happened to be shooting in the last. It was just this
President's
past weekend,
Day.
President's Day, and last year, I mean, I was skiing on President's Weekend, and it was -18.
Yeah, I was there
in
too.
the Poconos, and this year it was it was 58 degrees.
Yeah, I mean, we've gotten tons of rain, tons of warm days. It's global warming. I mean, it seems like, I mean, maybe there's something there. I don't ever, my kids are always saying to me, I can't believe when you were in elementary school, because they're in elementary school, you got to go out when it was snowy out, and we bundle up, go outside. It didn't matter if it was snowy or cold.
Spend the whole day outside.
And but at school for recess, and I just remember, when it was wintertime, it was wintertime, and then it sort of bleeds off into the spring.
I wonder if that's a thing, though, of like just your reminiscences being
I
not
don't
exactly
think so.
accurate. Did we have as many warm days in the 70s as we,
doubt
as we
it.
do, in the winter as we do now?
I don't think so. I don't
I
ever
don't know.
remember.
I'm
We'd
sure
have to
there's
actually
some-
look.
Yeah, there's records.
Yeah.
You know, you could find out relatively easily, but it just, I always wonder if it's just my memory is just faulty, and
I don't
being
think
a kid,
so.
you're more concrete. So winter
Right.
is cold and summer is hot.
Right.
You know, I'll tell you one thing. I really, and maybe this has got to be age, but I really feel like summers are hotter, like a lot hotter, like a completely different.
It could be.
You know.
What? This is my take on that. I think that when you wear a suit most days, you start to become less tolerant of
I
it.
guess
Because
so.
if you think about the summer, okay, there is, and you're in a suit, there is an undershirt,
Oh yeah.
there's a long sleeve
It's
shirt.
supposed to keep you warm, cooler though, to have the layers, but apparently I don't. See
Cool,
how
or what?
Yeah, I mean,
what
obviously, it would be
crazy
better to be
person made
completely,
that
you know,
statement?
Like wearing a tank top. It would
Right,
be-
but so
would be
wait,
way
so no,
better.
you have a undershirt,
Yeah.
a shirt buttoned to the top, tie on, okay, a jacket for some of the day.
Sure.
It's just pure stupidity.
Misery. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it
just
doesn't make any.
unnecessary.
It's
But, you know,
ridiculous.
But we're also, you know, the things that we do create. So I mean, a lot of people now don't work in suits anymore.
No, that's true. I mean, that is one industry that has changed quite a bit. The
Yeah.
idea of like business casual kind
Yeah,
of thing.
you know, I don't know anybody who doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, there are very few people I know anymore who wear like we do. I mean,
Suits
we wear
most
every
days.
day,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, but it's not even if you're at like a big law firm or a big accounting firm. I don't think they're in their suits and ties.
Not
every
if
day.
they don't need to be.
Yeah.
You know, they do it as an as needed basis. So I have some interesting, we talked last show about some of the issues with facing the Trump administration. So I found something interesting about something going on in Massachusetts, which I thought this was I thought worthwhile to talk about. So what they have at a local elementary school, and I do apologize because I forget, I guess it's Northampton, but it's the Northampton Police Department was running a program with the elementary schools, and I thought it sounded terrific. It was called High Five, like High Five Fridays, where every Friday there would be uniformed police officers at all the elementary schools to just welcome the kids to school. And I thought, well, this is a great publicity type piece, or rather community piece, where you have police with kids. We're not the enemy, we're friends. You also have, to some extent, like a deterrent, because the police are
Well,
maybe
there's
more
yeah,
around.
obviously.
Right, so which the kids don't know anything about that. But
I have a question.
Yeah,
though.
sure.
You said at Northampton, like the school district, or is it just this one school? Or?
No, they're the district. So it's
Okay,
in
so they're all
Massachusetts.
the different schools
Correct.
in that district.
All the
Now,
elementary
here's
schools.
my next question, and I don't want to, you know, again, we were not journalists, so we
Yeah,
don't
go
try to
ahead.
trip each other up or anything like that. So I don't know if how the research was done, but what kind of a school district is that? Is it a white suburban school district?
It's for the most part a white suburban school district. I think I read that it was like 80% that were like Caucasian.
Yeah.
And then I'll say
and
just
it's not
the next.
Caucasian part; it's the suburban part that I'm.
No,
you know.
it was more suburban, but so they had High Five Fridays, this community program that they thought would be good, and everybody on the surface thought this would be good. They had to shut it down because what they said was, it says the Northampton Police Department said it decided to scrap the High Five Friday program, which kicked off only in December, after residents said that some children, so I don't know if that's one child, 50,
children,
20,
take it for what it
a
says.
number of children, particularly minorities and undocumented immigrants, because we were talking about the documentation, may be uncomfortable with uniformed police officers greeting them at school in the morning. And I thought, wow, this is, that's unfortunate. I mean, you would like to think
isn't
that
the concept of them greeting is to make them not uncomfortable?
is to be more comfortable with what's around you. I think the idea that you help develop young kids into the idea that this is a group that is, supposed to be on your side,
Yeah.
and
Well, I
go from
remember
there.
when I was a little kid, and I'm old enough, just barely old enough, that I remember officers walking a beat. Okay, it was, I mean, obviously, it was
I don't
few and-
remember that,
Well,
but-
when I was little, we lived
In
Mom and Dad,
Philadelphia.
we lived in Philadelphia,
Yeah.
and I remember, I don't remember the officer's name or
Right,
anything,
right.
but we lived in Overbrook Park, right off of Haverford Avenue, and that was a business kind of,
Yeah, yeah.
old time kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
Main Street.
So a police officer walking the beat was normal. That makes sense.
I can remember being, part of my, how Mom and Dad were with you never knew when the question was going to be. You'd be sitting at dinner and it would be like, okay, there's a fire in the middle of the night. What do you do?
Oh,
Kind of
right.
And it was a similar kind of thing with, let's say you were out and you got, go find the police officer.
Right.
And tell him that you need help.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
I think the concept of the police officer as a surrogate parent or
a part of the community.
Yeah. that where there is safety surrounding that person has changed, and I don't know
obviously
why.
Because you have a grouping of people that were made to feel uncomfortable by that. It's funny because when we had Superintendent Chitwood on, Michael Chitwood from Upper Darby, he talked about the idea of community.
He's still doing it the old kind of. He goes knocks on doors.
That's right, and he talked about that idea of sort of community policing, to having these folks out there. I remember having a conversation with Dad not too long ago, and he was talking about. I had brought up the idea that I thought having a police officer in every school, I still do, everywhere, is not a bad idea. A real police officer from the township. I think it becomes a major deterrent for crime against children kind of thing from folks in the community. My stipulation is one police officer, a car in the parking lot, and they have to have a dog. I think that you have to have the three. And you turn it into this great program for the kids. And I remember Dad saying to me, you know what, when I was a kid, I remember a police officer being there at the school, like for dismissal, as like almost like part of dismissal, not because there were problems, but just because they were walking a beat. They made their way around at that point and sort of helped with maybe like traffic or whatever the case may be, related to the kids all sort of going like scattering like ants from the school to home kind of thing.
Well, you also had, I think, and again, maybe I'm just being nostalgic and incorrectly nostalgic, but it seems to me that back in those days there was a lot more walking to and from the school.
I think there was.
Schools were more neighborhood.
That's right. I think so.
Central neighborhood kind of situations, because we didn't have the suburbs where, I mean, my kids can't, your kids almost can.
We're walkers. No, my kids are
elementary
walkers.
school, right.
To
But
the
like
elementary school.
my kids can't, there's no way that they could walk to the elementary school or the junior high. And the junior high is less than half a mile from my house.
Right.
There's no sidewalks.
Right. And the road that they're on is
Yeah, so,
it's not going to happen.
The schools now are, down a road in a field, and they're far away. So
it's
less of a community center. I mean, it's a huge community center. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
We always comment. We'll drive. Betsy and I will drive past the high school at 9 o'clock on a Thursday night,
and it's busy,
and the parking lot's full. Like it's just a beehive. So that's a function of being lucky enough to be in a school district where
those things can happen.
Activity.
Yeah. So we have Almitra Tankersley from Credit Fitness. You can see, like we talked about, all of her great work at creditfitness.org. So Almitra Tankersley.
That was awesome. I have nothing to do now. Our guest today is Almitra Tankersley. She's from creditfitness.org. You can look her up online. And one thing I will tell you is that this girl knows credit. Almitra, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate being on the show, Stuart and Scott. It's an honor, actually.
Oh, look at that.
It's an honor.
Why is it an honor? Because of me or because of Stu?
I don't know. That's such a hard choice. It's two of you. It's like twins. Almost.
Who's older?
I really can't tell.
Well, there you go.
Oh.
You just made his day.
You both are like.
No, you didn't make my day.
No, right, you made my day.
Yeah, you ruined my day.
Yeah, I'm the older one. So.
By like a decade.
I'm older by like 25 years.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Well, they say the new 60 and
right.
50 are
there
the
you
new
go.
20s and 30s.
So what you're saying is Stu looks like he's about 60.
Yeah, there must be a question in here somewhere. So,
yeah, there is.
Eventually
so
we'll get to that. Okay, cool.
We love having you here.
Yes.
And one of the great things, and we were talking about this at the top of the show, was that you deal with credit. And obviously credit's a big issue for people all over the place. But one of the things that you spend so much time on, which is so often overlooked, is credit that relates to businesses. And we're a show that really focuses on business in Main Street and those folks who are populating Main Street and employing people and all those great things. And you have this great sort of practice of helping them with their business credit. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, everyone knows that credit is the thing that runs our life. It is a 3-digit number. It's so small, but it's so large, and it impacts everything. What we drive, where we live, how long we have to work today, you name it, when we can retire. And so because so many people go through life without the proper education on credit, they kind of wing it. And so they do what they saw their mother or their fathers do, or whoever it was that looked like they had it together in the family, and they try to mimic what that was. But the problem is that there is not enough education in our school systems even to teach on this. And so I do teach a lot of professionals in the mortgage area, real estate agents, corporate bankers, you name it. And so a lot of times they find out that they actually are killing the deal before they even got started, just because of certain mistakes that are made. So with credit, in its sense, is just something that a lot of people are not really aware how it works. So being FICO Pro certified, I've been doing credit enhancement, building, repair for 16 years, going on 17. I guess I'm almost telling my age. You'll never know. But it is something that is passionate for me, and a lot of people have benefited on the business side of things. So I do gear my business to working with small business owners, whether they're brand new, seasoned, it really doesn't matter. And it kind of shows how I established corporate bankers as my colleagues, because a lot of them come across business owners who've been in business for more than 10, 15 years, and they're like, they don't have anything really together to get credit for their business. And so therefore they're stuck putting a personal guarantee on those loans. So that brings us back to square one. If your credit scores are not as high as they would like them to be, then you probably will get denied. Even with full doc loans, SBA lending, it's very difficult, okay? Even those that might have all their paperwork, they still might get turned down. So that's kind of dampering for some people that might be really bringing in a lot of revenue, and therefore they can't get funding just because of that.
Is there a crossover? Is there a connection between a business person's personal credit and the credit of their business?
Yes, there actually is. So for the most part, I do know that with my experience, a lot of business owners started their businesses on their personal credit. They either took out equity from a property that they own, usually it's their personal home. One of the reasons why we're in the foreclosure market today, because a lot of people have taken the equity out of their properties. But in regards to personal credit, they have used their equity. They've used their credit lines, such as their Visas or MasterCards, and they took those lines and kind of wishful thinking that we'll use this money and we'll get it back. But the problem is that on the personal side of things, personal credit is not designed to carry a business. And so with that in mind, there is a penalty if you should go over a certain amount on those credit limits or those credit cards. So 30% is usually the arguable amount that you should not go over. Okay, so the moment you go over 30%, that's when FICO's system begins to shave off points.
So when you say 30%, you're talking about 30. Let's say
you
have a personal American Express card that has $10,000 worth of credit available, and you should not borrow against that for more than $3,000 of those $10,000, because if you borrow more than the $3,000, then it's going to actually start to negatively affect your credit.
Yes and no. I'm going to say something about Amex, because Amex is a charge card.
Maybe I used the wrong.
Because I know I have a lot of clients that do have Amex cards. Although it's a prestigious card to have, the problem with the Amex card altogether is that if, let's just say I have a client that has a limitless bank, a limitless limits, if that's the right word to say, the balance that they actually carry, if the balance is able to be carried, because not all Amex cards carry balances, but if they have been recorded at a certain amount that they actually spent, there's an opening or omission from the credit report that kind of allows it to be just like a question mark. And so therefore the system can't calculate a question mark. So if you think about back in elementary, 1 + 1 = 2. If you were to put down 1 + 1 = question mark, you're going to get a what? An X, or wrong, right? So in the same sense, the system can't compute. So it'll think that the highest limit that you spent is your limit, which will then max you out. So now the 30% is not even calculated properly. It looks like you maxed it out. So whatever the highest points that the system can generate to take off your credit score, that will happen, and sometimes it's 200 points from a credit score, okay? So we've seen clients that have these wonderful cards, you know, like I said, it is a prestigious card, but if they were an 800 or a 700 and then that happens, you're looking at 500 and 600 club again.
That's crazy that it
Okay.
works like that.
Yeah.
It's way more complicated than I think people realize.
Right.
That's for sure. It seems like something that doesn't necessarily have to be so complicated is. But I have a question that we're gonna draw back a little bit, because you talked about folks that have like good cash supply and good levels of revenue that are coming in. What about those folks who have dinged up credit? Okay, personal, business, whatever it might be, but yet have a lot of money coming in.
Right.
But yet they maybe they haven't managed it well. Maybe there was an issue at one point. I would think that those are folks that would be strong candidates for some of the business type of credit programs that you have.
Well, basically, the whole entire objective is to get a business owner funding right away so they don't close their doors to their business. And so if they're experiencing some issues from their personal credit, which normally happens, and I mean, it's not even their fault really, because no one's teaching them not to use more than 30% of the utilization of that credit limit. So the moment that happens, of course, their scores are going to drop, which will then sometimes send a signal to all the other lenders that you're dealing with, and they may reduce your credit lines too, just because of this score drop. So to get away from that altogether, that's where business credit comes in at. It's basically a brand new profile for the business owner, okay? And so with the utilizations that we talked about on personal credit, it's not the same on the business side. You could actually max out the entire card and not see your score drop. The only thing you have to do is pay on time, okay? So in setting that up, there are some parameters or requirements you have to meet as a business owner. Number one, they need to be a legal entity. Number two, they need to be either an LLC or an incorporation. Most people who, are doing business, they might do LLP, sole proprietor, partnerships. Those are the type of entities that would need to be not restructured, but they would more so need a camouflage, I call it, where they open up a whole nother entity to camouflage the original, so that way they can move forward on getting the funding that they need. And when they start out that way, it usually takes about 60 to 90 days to establish a brand new credit score, or I should say a PAYDEX score of a 75 PAYDEX or better. So once that happens, now they're able to separate their personal from their business. And the great thing is that you don't get taxed on the business side, even though it's the same that they do on the personal. But it is an option for business owners who have, like as you said, dinged up credit. Maybe their utilizations are too high and they have no way of paying it down, so they're stuck. So it does allow a person to get funding. One of my clients, just calling off the top of my head, they had a 547 credit score, and that was across the board. But they were approaching about 2-point-something million in their cleaning business. Their highest credit limit was a $900 Amex card. So it's kind of like an insult. But on the business side, we were still able to get that person $100K. And that was within the time that we talked to her. We didn't do any repair or anything like that. It was her revenue that got her the lending.
But I have a quick question about this. So when we set up this business scorecard for you, okay, I forgot what you called it.
PAYDEX.
PAYDEX. When you set up that PAYDEX score, did they pull or look at anything on the personal side to evaluate what that number should be?
Yes and no in the very beginning. If a person is trying to use their personal credit, let's say if a person does have good credit, the banks will take a look at the personal side just to see what's going on, but most of the time they want to see what's your highest credit limit that you've ever had. So if you're a person that always had $300, $500, or $1,000 limit, you're not experienced really in high limits. So they may or may not give you the ultimate credit limit that you're looking for. But if you do establish lines of credit that has 10,000 or more, then the business side will like to give you 10 to 50 times more than what you have on your personal. So yes, they will take a look at that. Now, to get away from your credit reports altogether, is when you use your business profile.
Right.
So the business profile is attached to a PAYDEX score, which is attached to your EIN number. So instead of putting your social down for the personal guarantee, you would put the EIN number down. But the EIN number has to have a generated PAYDEX score to get approved. So that's basically how that works. But it takes a little homework in the beginning, meaning establish an LLC or an incorporation, and then establish trade lines for that business entity, which is really simple, and that's how our services work for our
So
clients.
your advice would be, I mean, I think a lot of people say to themselves, well, straight out of the box, my business isn't going to qualify for anything. So can you, when you're setting up the corporation, when you're setting up the LLC, you know, in the really startup phase of the business, is that when you should be starting to build your PAYDEX profile, or is there a waiting period?
Yeah, actually you can start it right off right from the beginning, and we'd rather that because it takes about 6 months to be mature as, you know, the PAYDEX score grows. Within the first 60 to 90 days, we do help our clients establish a few trade lines that would generate that score, and we have something what's called rounds. Some people have heard of rounds in the repair side, how many times they, you know, have these disputes sent out on their behalf. But on the business side, we're working with funding. So the funding comes from rounds. And so every so many months, we do rounds of you know, applications for credit that we know they will get approved for. And then we just make sure that we manage them and help them and coach them along to pay on time. Because not paying on time will reduce that credit score or PAYDEX score really low. And it's not even worth being late because there is no credit repair for business.
Right.
So that is something that, you know, it is groundwork, but it's very, very simple once the person understands how it works. But it does give them an opportunity to separate their personal from their business. And if I can add too, it's not always about the personal or the business credit score. If a person had, let's say they're brand new, okay, and they don't have any revenue, but they have bad scores, this really just allows a person to just build a new profile. But then you have business owners that been in business and they're like, okay, so what do? I don't think I qualify for anything. Well, again, if they have revenue coming in, we like to see $10,000 or more a month. And if they can show that for the last 6 months, great. There are lenders and bankers that would lend on that with very, very attractive interest rates. If a person has a 401k, Roth accounts, you know, those type of things, they don't have to touch it, but the banks want to know, do they have it? And they can keep it right where it's at, still accumulating interest, and, you know, they'll lend on that. If they default, they're going to take it, okay? And then we have something else called equipment leasing, or they can lease back their equipment. So if they're an auto mechanic, they have heavy machinery, you know, those auto body companies.
Sure.
I'm just thinking of big, you know, machinery. If they own it, they can
use
actually
it as collateralize
yes, yes. So I've had a few people that have done that were actually in foreclosure on the personal side, but they still were able to get funding.
So
it's a lifesaver in the long way.
That's the big news. I think that's the thing, because I think a lot of small business owners assume that my personal credit is shot, so therefore I have no shot at business credit.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
and that's really where I think it starts and ends. So this is actually a very interesting topic that we're gonna have to wrap it up though, because it keeps going. Creditfitness.org, they can get in touch with you. They can get in touch with you on Facebook and LinkedIn, but creditfitness.org. So we're going to just say thanks to everybody. Thanks for watching. We will have all this information up and Almitra's contact data. We'll see you out on Main Street. Thanks, everybody.